Hello everyone and welcome to the first video in my new Diablo lore series. Today we are going to figure out how everything came to be in the Diablo universe and answer questions like what created the high heavens and the burning hells, how did the angels and demons come into existence, and what exactly started the eternal conflict. Now, I know some of you might be surprised to learn that angels and demons fighting each other is not in fact the first thing to happen in Diablo. When I first learned about it, I was a bit confused as well, because in the games we're always just being fed the "since the beginning of time" story. But as with almost any creation story, it all started with nothing but a void. Or total darkness, whatever you want to call it. And in that void, there was a pearl. I have no freaking idea how it got there, but there was a pearl, and within it existed a being of pure shining diamond called Anu. We don't really know much about him, or it as he is more commonly known, because there are very few sources describing him in the lore. What we do know, however, is that he was the sum of all things, good and evil, light and dark, physical and mystical. In a dream state, Anu was considering itself. It wanted to reach a state of total purity and perfection, and to do that it decided to remove all evil aspects from itself and cast it aside. This, however, caused a big problem, because all of these evil aspects eventually assembled and formed a massive seven-headed dragon called Tathamet. I know, right? Dragons in the Diablo universe? What the hell? But actually, in early lore, it's not as uncommon as you might think. And although there are no dragons in recent history, have you actually noticed how a lot of the demons in the game looks like really fuckly dragons? Well, in some cases you have to use your imagination a bit, but really, there are a lot of ugly dragons to be found. Anyway, because Tathamet was created from all of these evil cast-off aspects of Anu, he became the sum of all evil combined. The first singular prime evil to have existed before Diablo eventually became the second. Spoiler alert. So now we have these two separate and very different beings locked together inside the Pearl, and they started to fight each other in a classic display of good versus evil. Despite both of them being extremely powerful, they actually proved equally matched. None of them ever got the upper hand, and finally, after millennia of fighting, they both dealt their final blows. The energy released by this was so immense that it unleashed an explosion of light and matter so vast that it created the universe and killed both Anu and Tathamet. Epic story, I know. Okay, so after the death of Anu, it is said that his eye became the heart of creation, also known as the World Stone. And when you think about how big the World Stone actually is, you begin to get a pretty good idea about how big these two beefcakes actually were. It's also said that his spine over the course of many ages eventually formed into the crystal arch, around which the high heavens took shape. Despite being dead, some resonance of Anu remained in the crystal arch and spirits emerged from it. These spirits were angels. Shining with pure light and virtue, they were the aspects of what Anu had once been. Most noticeable among these were the 5 angels that would later become the Angerus Council. They were Malthael, Imperius, Tyrael, Auriel, and Ithariel. So not only is the Crystal Arch the high seat of the heavens, but also the birthplace of angels. However, the high heavens and the angels were not the only thing to emerge from the death of these two beings. In the lower darkness of reality, the remains of Tathamet's flesh formed into the realms of the burning hells, and his heads transformed into the 7 evils. 3 of them were the greater evils, also known as the prime evils: Mephisto, Diablo, and Baal. The 4 remaining brethren, known as the lesser evils, were Duriel and Dariel, Belial, and Asmodan. Together, they would rule over the endless hordes of demons that kept spawning from the deepest cavities of hell. Eventually, the angels and demons started clashing with each other. This led to an ongoing war, which we now know as the Eternal Conflict. Most of the fighting took place on a place called Pandemonium, in the epicenter of reality. It is considered to be the scar of the universe's violent birth, because this is where Anu and Tathamet made their final stand against each other. It was also the original location of the World Stone, which was located in the center of the realm, and according to the Book of Cain, this object was the main reason behind the conflict. Because the World Stone was supposedly the foundation of all places and times, a nexus of realities. Whoever controlled the stone would be able to alter reality and create different worlds in favor of their war, and obviously both heaven and hell wanted that control. However, the lore around this subject is a little bit weird. In general, it's claimed that the stone has changed hands many times over the course of the conflict, and that it has been used to create new worlds, but it's apparently not for certain. I'm going to read you a quote from the Book of Cain discussing this subject. Lacking the specificity and background a scholar such as I would like, a belief exists that control of this stone changed hands many times over the eons. The angels used the stone to build worlds of perfect order in line with their ideals of justice, hope, wisdom, fate, and valor, whereas the demons used the stone to create unfathomable engines of annihilation and worlds of destruction, terror, and hatred. However, these worlds never flourished. They were inherently flawed and doomed to wither and die. I know not whether such worlds were ever created, or if they were, whether any of them still exists. To the best of my knowledge, no man has ever beheld such a world. Therefore, I suspect that this account is literary license. Based on this statement, we cannot actually be 100% sure that the stone has been in the possession of both demons and angels. It's very likely, but not for certain. And we don't really know if it was ever used to create different worlds or realities, except for Sanctuary of course, but I will get into that in a different video. However, if it was used to create new worlds, could some of them still be left out there? That's an interesting thought, especially because Sanctuary is still there. What we do know, however, is that the World Stone was of great importance to both sides, and that Tyrael at some point ordered a bastion built around it, which we now know as the Pandemonium Fortress, though it is unclear exactly why he did it. I hope you all enjoyed this story of Diablo's creation. If I did make any mistakes, please don't hesitate to let me know in the comments, where you can also ask me any questions you might have. If you're interested in more Diablo lore, I highly recommend that you get the Book of Cain. It gives a great overview of the events in Diablo and is definitely worth checking out. Subscribe and like if you enjoyed this video. Until next time guys, thank you for watching.